In this video on Google Sheets, I'm going to show you how to use VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, two functions that are essential for anyone who wants to move into more advanced spreadsheet features. I'm also going to show you how to use the index match combination, a nice little feature that has some additional things that VLOOKUP can't do, though it's a little bit more complicated, so I'll have to walk you through it. Let's get started. Okay, I've created this new little tab right here called VLOOKUPs and HLOOKUPs. What I'm going to do is we are going to look up these different ships that I have here from the Star Wars movies, and I've just picked a couple, obviously plenty to pick from. So I have some data validation right here, allowing me to say, hey, which is your favorite ship from the Star Wars universe? So right now it's just picking from this particular range right here. What I want to do is I want to go to my Star Wars Legos thing here, and I want to be able to find, based on the name alone, what is the Lego set number of that? So it's a nice little data set that I can play with here. Now, what I want to do is I want to search for something like, let's say, the X-Wing fighter, and I want it to return Lego 4502, because that's the Lego set. I can show you. I search for that, and that's the X-Wing. So what I want to do is I want to be able to search for just the name and have it return this value here. So the way that I'm going to do that is with a VLOOKUP. So I'm going to go, a Lego set for this ship is, and hit the equal sign, and I'm going to hit VLOOKUP, and hit an open parentheses. Now the first thing is it needs a search key. The search key is essentially, what is it going to be looking for here? The value that I'm searching for. And I want to make that A2. So anything that happens to come up in my data validation right here, that's what I want to be searching for. I'm going to hit comma, and now I need to put the range in. So for the range, I'm going to go here to Star Wars Legos, and I'm going to select everything from A2 all the way down. So I'm going to do A2 to B. Now I'm going to hit comma, and I'm going to do the index. The index is the column in which I'm going to return. This first column here would be 1, but there's no point in doing a VLOOKUP where I'm going to return 1. I want to return 1 over. I'm going to set my index here to be 2, because what I'm going to be looking for is in this range right here, I want to look for the second column. I couldn't do a third one here because I've only selected 2 columns, but if I did expand that out a little bit more, I would be able to return those columns as well. For now, I just want to return the Lego number. Then I hit comma again, and now it's asking me a true or false question. Is this data sorted? In this case, it's not. So I'm going to put false. I'm going to hit close parentheses and hit return. So now it's going to say a Lego set for the Millennium Falcon is 4504. Now, Lego is one of those things where they make a lot of the same ships, so it's not perfect, but in this case here we get a general idea how to do it. Now, if I was to change this to go to, let's say, Slave 1, it's going to pop this up over here, and it's going to say 8097, because it searched down through here, it found Slave 1, and then it returned Lego number 8097, so that's what's going into this particular cell right here. One thing that you want to caution what you're doing with VLOOKUPs, here's the downside. If I was to take this and drag it, now obviously it's going to do no search here, it's moved it to A3 and whatnot here, so it's giving me an NA. But here's the part that I want to focus in on. See right here it says A3 to B? If you'll notice up here I had A2 to B. Because I dragged it down, it wanted to increment this as well. Now, of course, I could go back up here and make that an absolute reference. So if I was to drag it down again, that wouldn't be an issue. But instead of doing that, I want to show you where this is a perfect place to use a named range. So I'm going to create a named range for this. So I'm going to go to data and hit named ranges. And now it's saying add a range. What I want to do is I want to make this information right here, A2 to B, all of this stuff right here, I want to create a named range that's everything of all my Star Wars Legos here. So I'm going to add a range, and what I want it to be is I want it to be A2 all the way down to F. And I'm going to name this Star Wars Legos. You'll want to make sure that you're using it as a single line there, no spaces. Then hit done. Here's Star Wars characters or named range I used before, and here's Star Wars Legos, which is going to be all this information right here. Now I'm going to go back to my VLOOKUP, and I'm going to try this again, only this time I'm going to use my named range. The benefits for this is that it's a lot easier to type, it's a lot easier to remember, and if you ever click and drag stuff, you don't need to necessarily make sure that you have an absolute range. It will always be that range here. So let's try my VLOOKUP again. Here's my keys, the ship name, Slave 1. The range, in this case right here, I'm going to use what I have right here, Star Wars Legos. Now that's a lot easier to remember, a lot easier to type. I don't have to click over to another one because I've already done it. My index, again, I want to use index of 2, the second column, and then false. There we go. Now, once again, if I was to ever click and drag this down here, the benefits is that the named range is always going to be an absolute reference. I don't need to worry about that moving on. So that's VLOOKUP. A fun little idea that I came with is not only do I get the Lego number right here, one of the things I could do is I could actually set this up to do a search on that particular thing. I'll type this out quickly because it's kind of a neat little thing. I'm going to use the hyperlink feature. That happens to be a website that kind of has a database of Legos. We'll search against that. Now, whatever I have right here, if I change this to, let's say, Super Star Destroyer, over here it's going to change that, and this right here is actually a hyperlink. I'll make it blue to make it more familiar. If I click on that, it will actually take me right to this website right here. So I could change this to Sith Infiltrator. It's going to do a VLOOKUP to find this number and create a hyperlink based off of that, and send me right to here. Nice little combination of a couple features, including the hyperlink feature that I have right there. Hyperlink and concatenate to take the results of the VLOOKUP and actually create a hyperlink right to a website. Kind of a neat little combination. The next thing I'm going to show you is HLOOKUP. HLOOKUP is going to be a lot like VLOOKUP, only instead of looking for data vertically up and down right here, it's going to look for something horizontal right here, which is why I set that up earlier. What I want to do is I want to take right now this information right here, the Sith Infiltrator, and I want to create who is the actual pilot of that particular ship. So we're going to do it like this. I'm going to use my concatenate feature. So now it's going to do the pilot of the Sith Infiltrator or Slave 1 or those there. I want to do an HLOOKUP on that information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an HLOOKUP on whatever this is, look up across here, and then now I'm going to return whatever the information is that's directly beneath it. So let's try this. So I'm going to do function HLOOKUP, and the search key that I want to use is right here, A2. The range is going to be right here, B5 to K6. The index, once again, this is like instead of looking for the column, this is the row that I'm going to be doing. The first row would be this top one right here. I want to return the second thing, so my index is going to be 2. And once again, I'm going to put false because this information is not sorted. So now we know that the pilot of the Super Star Destroyer is Darth Vader. If I change that to something else, like Jedi Interceptor, that's Anakin Skywalker. Change it to Death Star, that's Emperor Palpatine. So I have a couple things going on here. I'll use my Control tilde toggle to show you what I got. I have a VLOOKUP on this data validation. That is going to be creating a hyperlink directly to that, and I am doing an HLOOKUP on this cell right here with this data. I'm using my concatenate feature to sort of combine these all into a single piece of text. So a nice little combination of a couple different features that I can use. VLOOKUPs and HLOOKUPs are absolutely essential. There's so many things that you can do with them. It's something that everyone using Google Sheets or any spreadsheet program needs to master. Now, that being said, there's a couple things that VLOOKUPs can't do. You may have noticed when I had my VLOOKUP right here, it was asking me for the index. I was doing a lookup on the name right here to find the Lego number. What if I wanted to do it the other way? In order to do kind of a VLOOKUP going backwards when I'm going from right to left, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the combination of the index and match features. First thing I'm going to do is try a match. So I'm going to equal sign, match, and I am going to be searching for, let's do number 7144. We're going to be looking for Boba Fett's Slave 1. So I'm going to be searching for 7144. My range, in this case right here, is going to be B2 to B. So I'm going to be searching in this whole column, and the search type that I'm going to do, I'm going to hit 0 because I'm looking for an exact match. There's other little things that you can do with this, assuming it's sorted or not sorted. For the purposes of what we're going to be doing as a VLOOKUP alternative, you want to use 0 to look for an exact match. If I hit return, it's going to give me the number 15. What does that 15 actually mean? Well, what it means is that in this range right here, 7144 happens to be the 15th entry in that. Well, what good does that get us? Not much. That's where the index feature comes in. Index is actually going to return the value at that particular cell. So I'm going to hit equal sign, index. The reference that I'm going to be looking for, now I don't want to reference this column here, I want to reference the previous column because this is kind of like a negative VLOOKUP. So I'm going to do A2 to A, the row that I'm going to be using, and I want to return this information right above, H11. Now what I have right here is I have done a VLOOKUP on 7144, and it's told me that at that position it says Boba Fett Slave 1. So this first part here told me that I'm going to find this particular thing 15 down, and then this index here is going to say, all right, 15 down and 1 over, or essentially 15 down in this range gives you this data. So I can combine these into something else. I'm going to set this up as my target right here. So whatever I type into this box is going to be what I'm searching for, much like a VLOOKUP. So I'm going to say 8,000. So now I'm going to combine my index match features right here. So I'm going to hit equal sign, and I'm going to do index. I want to do A2 to A. So here's the first part here. Now, my second part, I'm going to hit match. So I'm going to sort of stack these functions. My search key is going to be cell H10, which is whatever I'm going to be searching for there. The range is going to be B2 to B, and the search type is going to be 0. Now, what I've got here is I've got a backwards VLOOKUP. I can use a negative search. So let's try this. If I did 7191, it's going to tell me that's an X-Wing fighter. 7151 is going to give me the Sith infiltrator. So let's take a look at this formula again. Index is going to tell me in the A column right here, I want you to go this far down. And how far down I'm going to go is dependent upon this match. This is going to be searching for whatever's in H10 here, in this column here, and it's going to return that number to the index. Index will search down and actually find what's at that position and return it right here. So it's a lot like a VLOOKUP, but it's two functions stacked on top of each other. This is definitely something that takes a little bit of practice. It's so much better than VLOOKUP because it's going to allow for right to left matching, as well as a couple other nice little things. If you learn how to do VLOOKUPs and HLOOKUPs, you should learn how to do the index match feature as well.